Hello and welcome to Will You Accept This Rose? I'm everyone's favorite host that's not Chris Harrison, Veronica Gail. Joining me is Michael Daly and Jenna Powell. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing very well, Veronica and Jenna. It's good to be with you guys. What a season to talk about, right? To start it off right, get things going. And episode 1 did not disappoint, so it's great to talk about it.
I'm excited. I like this Bachelor who has no previous experience in the franchise, so I think we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so definitely new Bachelor, no experience, crazy stuff. So what do we think of Matt James as the Bachelor? Daly, we'll start with you.
He's the perfect guy, and I think he has the most upside I have seen of any Bachelor candidate because, again, like Jenna said, no prior experience. He's coming in with a clean slate, and I think he's really open-minded, and I think that's what the producers want to see, that's what Chris Harrison wants to see, and that's what the contestants want to see. They want him to give everyone a fair shake. Now, obviously, in episode 1, that's not going to be the case because he wasn't able to have a sit-down conversation with everyone. But from everyone that he talked to, he gave them a fair chance. So I think moving forward, he's the guy. And especially with the previews and how interesting this season looks, I think he's going to prove that.
I agree 100%. I think this is like the realest season we might have, just going based off the first episode. I think since he has not had any experience, this is just kind of a different approach that we're taking. I feel like usually we see someone who comes from the previous season or someone who's in Bachelor in Paradise or something like that. So for him to kind of take this on as someone who hasn't done this, I think is really interesting. And from what we've seen so far, I think it's authentic, and I think he's going to make connections, starting to already, we could see with a couple girls in the first episode. But I'm excited to see how this goes. I know the preview shows some drama that's going to go on, and we'll get into that too.
I completely agree. I mean, I'm excited to see what America thinks of him because we haven't met him yet. So definitely they did a great job in the preview. Works with kids, seems like a upstanding guy. They showed his mom. They're really setting him up to be a great guy. So here's to see if he keeps that wave moving forward. But let's get into the girls. Let's get into the walk-ins. Probably the most interesting part of the first episode are those walk-ins. So what was everyone's favorite entrances? Jenna, we'll start with you.
Bree was the first girl who walked out. I liked her. And I think in the episode they talked, they made some connections. I just felt like she was real. I like the girls who just come out of the limo, they're like, say something nice and then go on like throughout the night and like establish a connection and try to talk to him. So I liked Bree. I liked Carolyn. She brought Matt lavender that she said her mom sent her to like calm her down. I was like, oh, like that's cute. Like that was a nice gesture. And I liked Anna, who brought the Bachelor survival kit for him. I thought that was cute. So the three of them I thought made a good like first impression. So the three of them I was good with.
I would say for me, my favorite was Kit, because when you pull up in a Bentley, you are making a statement. So for me, that was my favorite because she did not hold back. And even when she said the limo was bringing her rideshare vibes, I just thought that was funny. And it just went to show how much she really cared for Matt because she was willing to go above and beyond. And it wasn't tacky. You know, I don't think it was excessive or doing too much. I think it made a statement and it was very direct. And even another one that I thought was pretty touching and I enjoyed a lot was Elena's, who brought the noodles or spaghetti. I forget exactly what it was, but they had like the Lady and the Tramp type of scene. So I thought that was very fitting and I think it was well done.
I also love the Lady and the Tramp one. The person I want to mention, I believe her name is pronounced Kaylee. She immediately stood out to me because she's the one who came with the clothing rack and had him pick which dress she would wear. First off, the confidence. Unreal. You're on national TV, basically wearing nothing. I give her so much props for having that much confidence. Most people don't. But that one just stood out to me because I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. And then the whole night I was like, oh my God, what does her dress look like? And I was like scanning the crowd to find her dress. That one definitely stuck out in my brain. And also I love the girl who came in on the TikTok. For some reason, that was just so cute. Her dress was stunning. I just really love that entrance. But on the flip side, are there any entrances that we didn't like? Michael, we'll start with you.
I'll say I did not like Katie's. And I won't say exactly what she brought, but I just think, I think she probably could have gone a different route because if it wasn't Matt, it might not have gone as well for her. If it was someone who just thought that it was a little tacky and not well done, I think that could have backfired. And I think she probably could have handled it a little bit better and maybe just at that moment in time, just do what she did and then not bring it up for the rest of the night. Because again, it was just unnecessary. But that was the main reason why I didn't like that entrance.
Yeah, for me, kind of going opposite of Michael, I thought Kit, I think I'm just petty that I can't show up in a Bentley, but for her to just be like, yeah, it was kind of rideshare vibes. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't relate. But I feel like she's gonna bring some drama to the season, so I think she'll grow on me. But then Victoria, nothing about her I like so far, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Jenna, I have the exact same two picks. Very funny. Victoria, we're gonna get into it, but I just thought it was too much, just too much princess vibes. And then Kid, it wasn't the Bentley and it wasn't the rideshare thing I actually thought was funny. The dress threw me off. Like if you're gonna go for a short dress, I love a short dress moment. But if you're gonna go for it, you have to make sure it is fancy enough where it matches the same vibe as the rest. I just thought it was too casual, especially with the lace up she paired it with. It just wasn't working for me. But we already mentioned her, so let's get into it. The villain of the night, I'm gonna call her the evil queen, Victoria. What did we think of her? Jenna, we'll start with you.
I first want to know like her actual occupation. On the like little lower third, it just says queen. So I'm not sure what she does for a living or anything like that. I don't know. The vibes are not good with her. I don't think she's there for the right reasons. And I'm sure like Veronica could relate. Like I feel like she's giving me like a high school girl, like popular girl vibe, like walking in kind of like entitled, like Matt owes her the rose. She like mentioned how like she deserved the first impression rose. I was like, no, I don't think so. But yeah, just not giving me good vibes. And I don't think it's going to get any better for her.
See, I feel two different ways about it because when it comes to Victoria, I don't think she's a serious contender to win it all. Let's just air that out. But when it comes to entertainment value, she is the perfect person to put on the show as a contestant because she brings the drama. There's no way night one she was going to be eliminated because she's the one stirring the pot. She's going to incite all of the drama, all of the negativity, and that's what the producers love. And most importantly, that's what the viewers love. So that's why I feel like she's going to be around there. And every single time the camera went on her, I felt like I was watching a Saturday Night Live sketch because she was just a character, an absolute meme. But that's what she was. She was obviously a producer picked. They handpicked her because they said, you know what? This girl is really going to drive up the ratings. So again, do I think she's going to be the last remaining Bachelor contestant? Absolutely not. But I think for the beginning of a season, when you're trying to drum up the ratings and really figure out who is a viable contender, I think it's fair to have her there.
I completely agree. Definitely there for the ratings, definitely there to cause drama. But I also agree with Jenna with the whole high school thing. Definitely felt very high school to me, especially when she said, "Excuse me, princess, the queen is here." I was like, oh my God, like get out. Like the drama, the pettiness is just so unreal. I was like, you can tell that she's here for the drama. Hey, but we love a girl here for the drama. We need it, keeps the show going round. But let's talk about maybe a more positive person of the night, Abigail. So Abigail won the first impression rose, which if you watch the show for a while, you know that means she's probably making it to the end, could possibly win the show. So how do we feel about Abigail? Michael, we'll start with you.
She stood out, and I think she was more than deserving of the rose just because of how her and Matt connected with one another. And it was very special. And honestly, you could even throw her in there in terms of the entrances. Her stood out too because it was a very touching story talking about her disability when it comes to hearing. And Matt related to that. Matt connected with her. He didn't shy away, which some guys that may be a little bit of a turnoff and they may not know how to interact. But Matt, he was fine with it. And one thing that I really like, and to me, it was very fitting that when they had that one-on-one interaction in that private room, Matt told her to stay there. He went out, grabbed the rose. All of the ladies were like, what's going on? And he gave it to her. And there was no one more deserving because she was vulnerable in that moment. He opened up as well, and they had a real connection.
Yeah, to be able to connect like that right off the bat, like not even hours of knowing each other, that says a lot. And I think, when you know, you know. So I think as a first impression, that was a really good pick. To be as honest as she was, I'm sure that's not easy. But to find love and go through this process, you know, you have to do that at some point. So I think starting off with that is probably your best bet. And she went for it and it worked out on her part. And I think we're going to see a lot more of them together. Hopefully they establish a better connection.
I personally love her. I thought she was so cute. I thought their connection was adorable. And I'll say this right now. If Abigail doesn't win, easily I could see her as the next Bachelorette. I felt like she had America's heart in that moment. I think she's going to keep getting America's heart. I think anyone that messes with her, America's going to hate. So definitely America's sweetheart girl right now. I'm a big Abigail fan. But is there anyone else who stood out to us? Because I know we talked a lot about Victoria, a lot about Abigail, but there's 32 women there. So any other women who stood out to us?
I liked Mari. She had like that purplish sparkly dress. I feel like she also established a connection with Matt. She talked about kind of where she came from and like her parents and grandparents. I think she said she was from Puerto Rico, kind of just how she grew up, and she was honest. Like I said previously, I like the people that could just talk about themselves and maybe like not go into the depths of like the hardship like that comes later in the season when you're making a more established connection, but just kind of talking where they come from and like starting to get into like beliefs and stuff like that, if that makes sense. So I feel like she started off like a good connection with Matt and kind of getting to know each other. And
For me, it was Rachel, because there was a moment in time where I actually thought Rachel was going to get the first impression rose just based on their conversation. And when she wasn't given it, obviously I thought Abigail deserved it. But for me, I think she has a really good chance at being there in the long run on this show. And it wouldn't shock me if she ends up winning it all too, just because her connection with Matt was very strong. Obviously, her meeting with Matt was interrupted, but still, I think the time that they had together, especially talking about religion and how Matt opened up with a prayer, to her, it made her very emotional. She connected with that. She really enjoyed it. And she was also able to be vulnerable in that moment. And I think when it comes down to Matt potentially finding his future wife, it all comes down to how honest will this person be with me? How much will they open up? And in that moment, Rachel opened up pretty much just as much as Abigail did.
I completely agree. I loved Rachel. She is awesome. She's stunning, really opened up. I think if they had a conversation for longer, there is a chance she might have gotten the first impression rose. But since it was cut short, they couldn't get that full time in. So, but I love the girl who came in the pickup truck and they were just drinking sweet tea, looking at the stars. Simple, but effective, very cute. You can tell they were bonding. She didn't get a lot of airtime, but she's definitely my favorite. And I hope that she gets more airtime in the future. But let's move into the rose ceremony. So not only was this the first rose ceremony where Matt James was giving out roses, this was his first rose ceremony ever. So I was very excited to see how it went. But is there anyone that we are shocked that didn't make it?
I wasn't shocked that anyone didn't make it. If anything, I was actually shocked that someone did make it. I actually was surprised that Anna made it through, because she was talking about her positioning, how she was directly in front of Matt, and he even picked someone directly behind her. I believe it was Elena he picked right behind her. So to me as a viewer, I was like, oh, she's not going to make it. This poor girl, she has her heart into Matt and it's just not going to work out. But when he finally picked her, I think she was shocked, because there was a moment in time where she was even like, well, he's not going to pick me. And even Serena C talked about that as well, how I came all this way and I'm just not going to get picked. Why am I not being picked as soon as the other girls? So those were two that, for me, see, again, I wasn't shocked that anyone who didn't make it. But for those that did make it, especially Anna and Serena C, I was surprised. I thought they were going to be sent home.
I thought my person who kind of shocked me was Alicia. I'm kind of shocked a little that she didn't make it, especially with the whole ballet dancer thing. I just thought it was cool. I thought it added something. She was shown a lot in the preview. So I was like, oh, this girl will make it. And then she didn't. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe we'll see her in paradise. Who knows? But I do feel bad for all those girls, especially because they had to spend those 14 weeks in quarantine. The usual episode, they'll just show up the first night. If they go home, they just go home. But they already had 2 weeks in. So especially the girls that didn't get any time with Matt, I always do feel a little bit bad for them just because of how much time they already put in. But the episode eventually had to come to an end. And we got our lovely season preview, our first glimpse of the drama in the show. So what do we think about the show as a whole, how the season's going to go on according to the preview? Michael, we'll start with you.
It is going to be as spicy and as entertaining of a season as I think we have ever seen. And Matt's the perfect guy. And what really reeled me in and and I told myself, you know what, I'm going to watch every single episode, is when the preview showed Matt and Chris Harrison having that conversation outside where Matt's crying and Chris is consoling him. And Matt just said, you know what, I just need a minute to myself, because Chris asked him, are you okay? And Matt said, I'm not. So that just goes to show that with the girls that they end up adding to the season, which it seems that's going to be the case, probably in the middle part of the season, they're going to have some sort of an impact, and maybe even a negative impact on the show, and they're going to make things even harder for Matt. So for me, when it comes to the preview, that's what stood out to me, because it just shows how emotionally invested Matt is into this season. And that's what you want to see.
And I was really surprised to see Hannah from Colton's season. I don't know if this is something I just don't know, or if this is something like completely new. I didn't know. It kind of seems like they had some sort of relationship at some point, or maybe knew each other, but because he seems like shocked but also happy that she's there. So I don't know if they ever talked or anything like that. But I'm excited for that, to see how that turns out. And yeah, the new girls, they always come in and cause trouble. So I know that's going to be a lot of drama.
Definitely agree. One of the things I noticed was the setting. Stunning. Like the dates look like they're going to be better than Tayshia's. The fact that they set it in Pennsylvania is like weird choice. But then after I saw all the dates they could do, social distancing, I was like, that makes perfect sense. You see them ziplining, doing that all that stuff. So I definitely think the dates are going to be more extravagant, and the hotel itself is just beautiful. Heather coming back was in the preview. Wild. Girls coming back. Can't wait for the drama that ensues. But the one thing I was a little disappointed to see was Tyler C wasn't in the preview. Is he going to come back? Are we going to hear from him? I hope we do, but who knows? So that's all the time we have on this episode of Will You Accept This Rose? For Michael Daly and Jenna Powell, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you next time.